Welcome to another video, guys. Today we're going to be talking about the new fusion that's coming to raid on Monday, December the 15th, and this one is going to be a big one, because this is the first time we're getting a legendary Shadowkin Reviver. In this video I'm going to try and explain how much resources you might expect this one to cost you, what the champion does, if it's worth getting, and everything in between, so you guys can make an educated decision if you should be going for this guy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be great, and don't forget you can check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday, where I do my best to give you guys free account takeovers so you can enjoy the game even more. If you want to support the channel for free and start raid the right way, download the game from my premium download link, and that's gonna give you 4 amazing champions as soon as you start, and you're also gonna have 48 hours to use the promo code section for an extra amazing legendary champion. But now, let's get into the video. Okay, so first things first, what is the new fusion we're gonna be getting? This would be none other than Yukimasa, Demon of Ice. He definitely does look quite legendary indeed. Raid are again knocking it out of the park with the aesthetics on this one. Quite the demon spawny looking Shadowkin, not gonna lie, but still definitely true to the faction. And this guy is actually an attack-based reviver, and he's not your typical reviver. I mean, apparently Raid are gonna do everything except give us a proper reviver for Shadowkin, but still, beggars can be choosers, I guess. And what is this guy doing? On his A1 we have Winnowing Winter, attacks all enemies, has 25 chance of placing a block active skills debuff for 1 turn. This thing books out a 40% chance, and this debuff cannot be resisted if there is at least 1 enemy under a stun, freeze, sleep, fear, true fear, provoke, or petrification debuff. Instantly activate this skill whenever this champion skips a turn because of stun, freeze, sleep, fear, true fear, provoke, or petrification debuff. Sounds pretty interesting, could be very good in things like arena and such. Especially with all of those Armanses and Fabians out there, this could be quite the interesting skill to be using. I don't think he's gonna be an absolute meta breaker like Fabian or Armans once they came out, but he definitely could see a little bit of light under the sun. His A2 is where the money's at, however, and this is Blizzard of Strikes. Attacks all enemies and will ignore block damage buffs. Has a 75 chance, booking out 100, of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and this debuff cannot be resisted if there is at least 1 enemy under stun, freeze, sleep, fear, true fear, provoke, or petrification. I guess that's the theme of this guy. You can see these debuffs on every single one of his skills, including the passive. And the real moneymaker here is revive 1 random ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter if this skill did not kill an enemy. However, if you do kill an enemy, revives all allies with 50% HP and 50 turn meter if this skill kills at least 1 enemy. This sounds great, and you are guaranteed to revive at least 1 idiot for your team, but usually skills like this kinda don't have the bestest of multipliers, and not to mention this thing already has way too much utility. Not only does it have a guaranteed freeze once you book it out, but also being able to revive all of your team in the meantime. I don't know, I really believe this is gonna have a very low multiplier. He is an attack-based nuker champion, however, so how low can it really be realistically, guys? I guess time will tell, but it's definitely something to think about. Stain the Snows is his A3, and this one is a attack 1 enemy before attacking, steals all turn meter from the target. This effect cannot be resisted if there is at least 1 enemy under you know what. Also equalizes the target's defense with this champion's defense for this attack. The damage inflicted by this skill increases by the amount of turn meters stolen. Damn. Given this guy's an attack-based nuker, you're not really gonna have too much defense on him to begin with, so he actually might be quite the solid single target destroyer, being able to equalize somebody's defense, like let's say equalizing a high defense support champion, or heck, somebody like a defense-based nuker like Marius should be pretty interesting, but it is only a single target skill, however, so it's not gonna be as impactful like Marius Z2 would, I guess, but we can't really be comparing a Void Legendary to this guy now, can we? Sounds interesting, and it does book out to a 3 turn cooldown just like his A2, by the way. So with all of this combined, we have ourselves quite the interesting nuker champion that also brings revive to the table. And last but not least, we also have a passive. This one is called Solitary Demon. Fills this champion's turn meter by 50% whenever this champion skips a turn because of, again, you know what. Whenever this champion skips a turn because of one of those debuffs, their next active skill will ignore 50% of the target's defense. So basically this guy doesn't really believe in concepts like defense for the enemy team, and you are going to be able to ignore quite a lot of it for most of your skills, it seems. All around, I think it's safe to say that this is quite a unique champion, and if you ever plan on finishing things like Faction Wars Hard with the Shadowkin, I'm pretty sure this guy is going to be a big help for you. Personally, I will be going for him, but then again, again, I do go for literally every fusion nowadays, and I really think you should too. Like, even if you're free to play, you can definitely go for every single fusion, and it's not even that hard, guys. And I will explain why in a bit. First things first, however, why is it so important to get this guy? Well, like I said, you literally don't have a single proper reviver from the legendary champions for this faction, and that is quite the big no-no. And heck, even the epics are nothing to write home about. Like, literally the only epic champion that gives you a revive would be this girl, Kinagashi, and she just revives an ally with 50% HP and 50 turn meter, also places increases defense buff on the ally for 2 turns, so that's about it. Her A2 is nothing to write home about, her A1 is whatever, so all around, yeah, this is what you have in terms of revivers when it comes down to Shadowkin, so that is actually pretty sucky if we gotta be completely honest. But now we are gonna have ourselves another legendary in here, and as long as you bring some supports to actually save him from dying to death, I think that would be very beneficial. We already know that this is gonna be a traditional fusion for this legendary champion, and another traditional fusion we had not too long ago was Fallen, and here's what the situation looks like over there. You're gonna have to gather yourself 16 rare champions in order to fuse yourself 4 epic champions, and you're gonna have to level them up, you're gonna have to ascend them, and everything in between, and it's definitely not easy. This is probably the hardest fusion you could be attempting to complete, but it's really not that hard as well as soon as you are a few months into the game, especially if you're already farming yourself a Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare clan boss on a daily basis. Fusions literally will never be a problem as long as you manage your resources properly. And here's what we can expect in terms of events for this guy to be happening, starting off Monday 15th of December. We're probably gonna kick things off with a dungeon diver, as well as one of the traditional dungeons they give us, like a spider, like a Fire Knight, Ice Golem, or Dragon. And the dungeon divers are probably gonna be free in total throughout the entirety of this thing, which should be a couple of weeks. We're also probably gonna have a couple of summoning events, be it one summon rush and one champion chase, and in order to complete those you usually need about roughly 10 to 12 sacred shards, or you could do a combination of some ancient, some voids, heck, even mystery shards do get the job done quite easily for you, so don't worry if you don't have too many. As long as you are farming yourself clan boss on a daily basis, you should be seeing something about 5 to 6 sacred shards just for these 2 weeks alone. Not to mention you can also get yourself sacred shards from all sorts of different places, like Doom Tower, like quest rewards, 3v3 arena, and so on and so forth. So definitely check out my detailed video about how many shards you could actually be farming each month for free, and that might actually be very eye-opening for a lot of you. We're also gonna have ourselves a couple of classic arena takedowns, and those are basically auto-completes. We don't even need to mention those, just do yourself arenas and that's gonna get you there. And we should be seeing probably 3 gear enhancement events, which usually take you about 15 mil silver to get to the reward you need, but to complete the whole thing usually it costs about 20 to 25 mil, but you could be doing it cheaper. You don't always need to be completing these by leveling up all the way to 16. What you could be doing instead would be to level up your gear all the way up to 8, or heck even to 12 if the gear already shows some potential, and that is gonna give you a good amount of points while not costing you that much silver to begin with. As you can see, I am leveling my gear quite a lot, and what you should be doing during tournaments like this would be to level your gear at least to level 8, see if the piece has potential. This one for me not really. If it rolled at least a single roll of speed, I could have brought it up to 12 to see if we get a second, but this one is just a sell piece for me. But this really comes down to the different type of account you may be having. For you, this might still be a keep because it did have 6-star res, so that is nothing to scoff at for sure for most. So basically what you do is just level up to 8. If it has potential, go to 12. This one again doesn't have potential, so off to the bin it goes. And this way you are going to be getting yourself a good amount of points while also actually leveling up your gear to usable levels. And at some point you are going to actually bring those pieces to level 16 once you're actually completely convinced that that would be a piece you are going to be using. Other than that, we're also going to get ourselves probably a couple of champion training tournaments, or more like a champion training tournament and a champion training event, and both of those should be a no problem for most to complete, especially if you have yourself a bunch of brews. But if you don't have brews, you could just be farming a bunch of campaign, and that is going to give you not only a good amount of champion training, but also a good amount of dungeon diver points. So again, you could be checking out my guides about how to build yourself solo farmers for both campaign as well as spider, dragon, ice golem, that kind of stuff, and that should be giving you a lot of good progress during fusion events like this. So yeah, that's about it. That's the type of events we could be expecting. It should be 3 dungeon divers, one of each of the traditional dungeon tournaments like spider, ice golem, dragon, and fire knight, 3 gear enhancement events, 2 arena tournaments, a champion training tournament and a champion training event, and usually a summon rush and a champ chase tournament, or vice versa. So what could this mean in terms of shards for you? Well, usually 12 sacred shards are gonna get you there guaranteed, and you don't even need to have them at the beginning beginning of the tournament. Like, if you already have yourself something like 5 sacred shards, I do believe you should be able to complete the whole fusion without a problem, because usually shards are the bottleneck for events like this. And don't forget, when you have a champion chase tournament, you could be using things like fragment summons. For instance, I still haven't fused myself Cross. You could have yourself some of the Doom Tower bosses ready to fuse. You could have yourself some remnant summons. You could have actually left yourself some prism shards. For instance, I'm not planning to pull on this one, and I do have myself 40 prism shards in this. Here you go, it's ready to collect, but I'm not gonna collect it until the event is over, and that way I will have myself some prism shards for when I actually need them on the next prism shard event. And you could also use the Broadmaw and Relic Keeper fusions. For instance, Broadmaw is actually a very decent reviver if you don't have anything better for the Lizardmen. I myself am using actually this guy in Faction Wars Hard right now for a reviver, so this would also be 350 not so hard points to be getting. In terms of silver, you literally could be entering this one with 0 silver and still be capable of finishing everything as long as you have yourself a good amount of energy and a good amount of gems. Again, you could check out my detailed guide about how you could be farming yourself millions of silver with ease, with things like spider farming, force tricks you could be using, like slapping yourself the shield charm on gear you're planning to sell, and so on and so forth, and that is gonna give you a lot of extra silver throughout the fusion calendar. In terms of gems, it would be a good idea to have yourself a couple of thousand gems, I'd say, so you are guaranteed you're gonna have enough energy to actually go through every single dungeon diver and tournament you might be needing. And that's really about it. Other than that, as soon as we understand what champions we are gonna need to fuse as well as ascend, you are gonna know how much potions you're gonna have to farm, but that really isn't something that complicated. You guys are gonna be able to map that out for yourselves, and I'll still actually do an updated video once the calendar is actually out, so you guys know how much potions you are gonna need to farm for each of the champions you're gonna need to fuse. If all else fails, don't forget the shop is here for a reason. You could actually get yourself some proper cheap stuff that's gonna help you big time. For instance, the daily gem pass I cannot recommend enough. The daily energy is actually pretty worth it if you think you're gonna be short on that. And heck, you could even get yourself the 50 bucks monthly pack, which is also one of the best values you could be going for. And we might even see some proper Christmassy offers during that fusion. I'm also expecting some proper good events during it, like maybe still we are gonna get to see a Titan event, maybe we're gonna get a deck of fates, that kind of stuff. So we're probably gonna be very inclined to be using our resources anyway, so might as well get yourself the fusion in the meantime as well. So I think that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I really hope this helps you figure out if you're gonna be going for this fusion or not, and make sure if you go for it, to really go for it. Like, don't half-ass it, because if you actually start going for it and then decide you're not gonna be completing it, that is gonna be very, very bad for your collection. Do let me know in the comments if you're gonna be going for this bad boy, and don't forget you can check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday for free account takeovers. Download the game from my premium download link if you want to start raid the right way, and thanks for watching. I'm Crystal5, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.